So let's start with the uncomfortable truth. While you're out shopping for Christmas gifts and juggling rent, groceries, gas, and everything else in this busted economy, Republicans are actively working to take away your health care. Again. And they're betting on you not paying attention. And before anyone says, oh, you're being dramatic. No, I'm not. I'm really not. They've tried this dozens of times. In fact, they're doing it right now as we speak. And they get away with it because they count on Americans throwing up their hands and saying healthcare is too complicated. I'll just leave it up to Washington to figure out. The truth is, healthcare is complicated, but it doesn't have to be. A lot of that complexity isn't accidental. It's the result of government failure after government failure layered on top each other for decades. And that's why we can't just sit back and wait for Washington to magically fix this problem. We have to understand the system ourselves and then demand better from the people that we elect. So today, we're taking a deep dive into healthcare. We're breaking down how the U.S. healthcare system actually works and how the current administration keeps preaching big promises with no real plan to back them up. So I'm giving this to y'all straight. No spin, no cable news nonsense, just plain English, Pragmotiv style. Because whether you're liberal, conservative, or somewhere in between, bad healthcare policy doesn't play favorites. It affects every single person in this country. But first, you know the drill. Please do me a favor and hit that subscribe button and ring that bell so that you'll be the first to know when we post. This is Pragmotiv News, and it's your boy Trey. So let's start out by explaining how healthcare works here in the United States. We have a huge system with a lot of moving parts. So let's begin with hospitals, since they are arguably the most visible part of the system. Many hospitals in our country are in the private sector, and they are either nonprofit entities or for-profit corporations. These corporations often operate what's called hospital center systems. So in the hospital systems, they manage multiple hospital locations and clinics for patients to receive outpatient care. We also have private doctors who can start their own independent practices, in addition to the doctors and nurses who work for those major healthcare systems across the country. Some of the major players nationally are HCA Health, Common Spirit Health, Ascension Health, Kaiser Permanente, as well as two large for-profit systems, which are Community Health Systems and Tenet Healthcare. Now, before we go any further, let's clear up something because this seems to trip up a lot of people. Nonprofit doesn't mean they don't make money. Nonprofits operate around a stated mission rather than shareholder returns. Their goal isn't to generate profits for the owners, but even though their goal is not to make a profit, that doesn't mean they're not bringing in serious revenue. The difference is what happens to the money once they make it. So nonprofits are expected to reinvest what they bring in into operations, expansion, payroll, which includes executive pay, facilities, and the growth of the organization as a whole. Now, for-profit corporations, however, have one clear priority: maximize profit for the shareholders. Every decision eventually flows back to that goal. So now that we've covered that part of the healthcare system, let's move on to the insurance companies, because this is where the picture gets clearer. Insurance companies do not provide care. They facilitate payments to hospitals and clinics. They act kind of like the middleman between you and your doctor. And we'll get into why that matters in just a minute when we talk about negotiation power. So stick with me. Now, in the United States, there are a lot of insurance companies, but the market is dominated by a handful of giants. United Healthcare is by far the largest, both in market share and total membership. Next, we have Anthem, known as Elevance Health now. Then there's CVS Health, which operates insurance under the name Aetna. And after that, you've got Blue Cross Blue Shield and Kaiser Permanente. And rounding out the big players is Cigna. And that's just the private sector. We also have Medicaid, which serves low-income Americans, and Medicare, which covers seniors and people with disabilities. These are public health programs. But here's the part most people don't realize. In most states, private insurance companies are contracted to run Medicaid programs. Now, with Medicare, beneficiaries have a choice. They could either stay on the traditional Medicare with the red, white, and blue card, or they can enroll in Medicare Part C, also known as Medicare Advantage, which is a fancy way of saying you receive Medicare coverage through a private insurance company instead of through the government fully. Now, when it comes to Medicare Advantage, the market is unsurprisingly dominated by the same players: United Healthcare, Humana, Aetna, Kaiser Permanente, Elevance, and Blue Cross Blue Shield. But here's the key takeaway. United Healthcare and Humana alone account for nearly half of all Medicare Advantage enrollees. And in many counties across the country, people only have one or two Medicare Advantage choices in total. So, last night, Donald Trump catfished the networks, saying he had an important message to deliver to the country. Instead, he just gave an 18-minute infomercial full of propaganda and lies. But let's face it, that is so on brand for him. But one of the lies he said was that he lowered drug prices. Take a look.
I'm doing what no politician of either party has ever done, standing up to the special interests to dramatically reduce the price of prescription drugs. I negotiated directly with the drug companies and foreign nations, which were taking advantage of our country for many decades, to slash prices on drugs and pharmaceuticals by as much as 400, 500, and even 600%. In other words, your drug costs will be plummeting downward.
Now, a few weeks ago, remember when that healthcare exec passed out in the middle of the Oval? That was actually at a press conference about lowering drug prices, which Trump was falling asleep at, I might add. But take a look at what I said then. So let's talk about Trump's policy he unveiled today. He said that he is lowering the cost of Wegovy and Zepbound, which are obesity drugs, to $149. But unlike the Biden proposal, Trump only covers the pills, not the injectables. And get this, it doesn't cover the drug at all. It just lowers the price for people on Medicare and Medicaid to be able to pay out of pocket with their own money. Now, if someone has such a limited amount of money that they qualify for Medicaid in the first place, or if they're a retired senior living on fixed income with Medicare, how the hell are they supposed to afford $149 per month for a weight loss pill that is not even as effective as the injection? See, this is what you get with Republican policies: half-baked, incomplete, and not thought through. But last night, the lizard went on even further with his lies. He claimed that instead of giving money to billion-dollar insurance corporations, he would just give it to the people. A few weeks ago, he said he'd give it directly to us to help pay for healthcare costs out of pocket. Now he's saying he'll give it to us to help pay for health insurance. Take a look at what he said last night.
I'm also taking on the gigantic health insurance companies that have gotten rich on billions of dollars of money that should go directly to the people. The money should go to the people. That's you. So they can buy their own health insurance, which will give far better benefits at much lower costs. It will.
Now that all sounds good. But here's why giving money directly to people to pay for healthcare out of pocket would be a massive disaster. Right now, insurance companies have negotiating power because they represent millions of members. For example, if you had to pay cash price for an MRI, it would be much higher than what your insurance company pays. Why? Because the insurance company negotiates. Let's say a hospital bills $3,000 for an MRI. The insurance company says, well, no, we'll pay just $1,000. The hospital accepts because they don't want to risk being out of network and losing thousands of patients who are members of that insurance plan. But if everyone were paying cash, we would have no negotiating power. You'd be on your own, paying whatever the hospital charged. For example, it's the same as Netflix. You can't negotiate your subscription costs. You either pay it or you don't get the service. Or think about Walmart. If you're a paper towel manufacturer, you want your product in over 10,000 stores because of the exposure. But if Walmart tells you that you have to sell these at $3 per pack instead of the $5 that you want to charge, you'd have no choice but to capitulate and do what Walmart is asking. The exposure is worth following their price. That's exactly how insurance companies leverage scale to negotiate lower prices for healthcare, and why paying cash directly from each person is not going to work. Now take a look at this clip debunking Trump's latest rant about giving us money to buy healthcare directly.
So Donald Trump said tonight that what he wants to do is just give people money to buy health insurance. Just give them money. He didn't say what for. He said he wants to give them money and not give money to health insurance companies. Of course, the money he wants to give them, they then have to use to buy health insurance. So yes, that money, if you did that, would end up at the health insurance company. He doesn't seem to understand that the tax credits for the Affordable Care Act, healthcare costs, that is exactly what that is. A tax credit is giving people money to help them pay their health insurance premiums. That is exactly what you're proposing. Donald Trump doesn't seem to even understand what these tax credits are.
Yeah, he seems clueless about that. The only thing they understand are tax breaks that are massive for the wealthy, the well-off, and the well-connected in order to subsidize the lifestyles of the rich and shameless. But when it comes to tax credits for everyday Americans, he claims to be clueless about the thing, and he actually may be, because perhaps there's no interest.
Yo, I love how Lawrence O'Donnell always just eviscerates Trump with precision, on point every time. So as you can see, all of his proposals have a 0% chance of working. Like they just said, that is the exact same thing as what the Democrats have been fighting for. It is what we have now. That is the very definition of healthcare subsidies. Bottom line, Trump and his do-nothing party of hate should just extend the subsidies. Now, before we end, let's talk about Bill Cassidy's proposal. And before I bombard y'all with all this bullshit, just know I didn't vote for him or that other clown, John Neely Kennedy. But Cassidy says that he would like to give $1,000 to each person in an HSA account. But there's just one major problem. By law, HSAs can't be used to cover premiums in most cases. Only for copays, procedures, and prescriptions. The only time you can use a HSA to cover premiums is if you are collecting unemployment, have COBRA, or are over 65 and have Medicare. But most notably, it doesn't cover Medigap insurance, which is the insurance that covers the 20% original Medicare doesn't cover. So like I said at the top, the Republicans refuse to actually make healthcare better. Ever since the Affordable Care Act was passed in 2010, they have set out to destroy it and therefore destroy healthcare in America. Most of the ACA didn't even take effect until 2014, and they were spreading misinformation and lies about it since the day Barack Obama introduced the idea. Don't believe me? Take a look at John McCain's heroic act back in Trump's first term, defending the ACA from Trump and the Republicans.
1:29 a.m. Senator McCain re-enters the chamber. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell stands at the front of the room like he had most of the night. The grin on his face, though, quickly disappears.
Mr. Peters.
Senator Bernie Sanders appears to nudge Senator Jeanne Shaheen as if to say, "Watch this." McCain waves his hand to get the attention of the Senate clerk, pauses for just a moment, and gives a dramatic thumbs down. An audible gasp on the Senate floor, and then commotion. Some Democrats can't contain their excitement. Senator Elizabeth Warren leans in to get a better look and breaks into applause. Senator Dianne Feinstein, a single assertive clap. Senator Sherrod Brown slams his hand on the desk in affirmation, while some Republicans, like Senator Marco Rubio, stare in disbelief. Senator Bill Cassidy drops his head. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer turns and waves his arms, apparently trying to quiet them, as Senator John McCain turns around and walks back to his chamber desk all alone.
Mr. Reed.
So now take a look at MAGA Mike the other day. Just out and out lying.
Mr. Speaker, do you condemn Trump's post about Rob Reiner?
What are your thoughts about what President Trump said about Rob Reiner at his press conference today?
I don't do ongoing commentary about everything that's said by everybody in government every day.
We are the President of the United States.
We're trying to bring down health care costs for the American people. They're very important votes, very important issues, and that's what we're focused on.
A lot of your members are criticizing him.
I gave commentary this morning, and you all heard it. Thank you.
Not only did he refuse to disavow Trump's morally corrupt statement about Rob Reiner, he also took the opportunity to lie, claiming he's trying to, quote, save Americans' health care. Meanwhile, Republicans, as I've shown you today, still don't have a plan. Remember last year during the debate with Kamala, Trump famously claimed that he had concepts of a plan. That was over a year ago. And he still hasn't presented a damn thing. That's not just incompetence at the highest level. That's dereliction of duty as the President of the United States. And honestly, this doesn't surprise me because there isn't a thing Trump could do that would surprise me. This is the same man who famously said he could shoot someone in the middle of the street and get away with it. So the fact that he has tanked the economy, allowed people to be murdered in the middle of the ocean, based on just his assumption that they're guilty, and now is cutting health insurance for millions of Americans doesn't shock me one bit. It's par for the course with him. So going forward, we should call or write our representative and our senators and demand that they take action to keep healthcare accessible. Better yet, we should demand they make it more affordable and stop this campaign of taking from the poor and giving to the rich. If we keep letting them take and we're left with no living wages, no health care, no food, and no roof over our heads, then what the fuck is left for them to take? Please spread the word about Pragmotiv News by sharing this video with your family and your friends. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment because it really helps the algorithm. We're closing in on 1,000 subs and we can't get there without your support. And remember that you can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Audible, and iHeartRadio, or wherever you get your podcasts. So that's going to do it for me today. I'll catch y'all later. Peace.